Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm Degidio, and we are back with another very exclusive episode with Twitch, the one and only. This is the Jaxxon podcast, and we have a very special guest in the house, Adam. We appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This place is legit, man.
Yeah.
I'm inspired.
Did you not say his last name because it's hard to pronounce?
I passed right over it on purpose. Right.
How do you actually say it?
Okay, so the Italian proper way to say it is Cianciarulo, but in America we say Cianciarulo.
Yeah.
Cianciarulo.
Yeah.
I've heard announcers butcher it for my entire life.
Cianciarulo makes sense, but I saw a bunch of people on the internet and they said it completely different. I go, he's for sure not Italian.
They're like sounding it out. You know what I mean?
Cianciarulo sounds Italian. I could say that all day.
Yeah.
But that's not what I heard on the internet.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
heard people say
To be honest with you, I don't know. I know it's Cianciarulo, and for whatever reason, my family has always said the American side, Cianciarulo. So I don't know if that's right, wrong, whatever. That's what we're going with, though. My first name's actually Michael.
Is it really?
Italian thing, yeah. Michael Adam.
I'm never calling you Adam again.
Yeah, dude. Big
name.
Mike.
On the course, I'm Big Mike.
Yeah, that's what they call me at Bear Creek.
That's too funny.
Listen, I appreciate you coming through. I think one thing that's awesome with this new show that Twitch has been putting together is that we really get like an inside look on everybody. And I was telling him I was watching a lot of your podcast content. Seems so natural. Seems like you really enjoy talking to the audience, the fans. And then I heard you saying like, oh, I was at a race and people were coming up to me saying, hey, when's your next episode? Have you been getting a lot of traction and love with your show?
Yeah, I have. I started it with my social media company, Converge Media. My good friend Shane Doyle, he kind of helps me with that side of things, and we kind of came together on a idea for a podcast that there wasn't really another current racer that was doing one. So I thought it would be, like you said, I love to talk and down to share my knowledge when I can. So we started doing it about a year ago, and we've been trying to be a little more consistent with it. But with racing, obviously in my transition now and retiring from racing, it hasn't been perfect. It's not like we knock them out every week, but it's something that I have a lot of fun doing. And yeah, it's always been kind of easy for me to talk, I guess.
Yeah, I think you've been talking in front of a camera your whole life, so you're pretty used to it,
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's the big thing for me is I always want to bring like something unique to the table, like a different perspective. There's a lot of really good moto podcasts out there, and my thing is I want to be, whoever I have on the show, whatever. We did one with Chase Sexton, which was kind of our most popular one.
Yeah.
I just want it to be more of a relaxed atmosphere and kind of get the side of people that people don't get to see often.
That's what I like. That you guys are just chilling on the couch, just hanging out, just talking like friends. And I feel like those are like the best podcasts. It's just like you said, you're in a relaxed environment and you can just chill and be yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And it's same thing. My hope is to go into commentating, and it's kind of the same thing when you get those opportunities. You feel like you have to be this professional, kind of clean cut, whatever. But people just want to see you. You know, that's the biggest draw.
Same like Stu. Like he was like when he quit riding, you didn't see him, and then when he came back, everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And like you actually get to see. I feel like when you guys are like racing, it's like so like you have your schedule. Like you're waking up, you're warming up, then you're going to the track, then you're going to the gym, then you're this, then you're that. It's like people don't really get to see your guys' personalities. Like before I started hanging out with you and golfing with you, like I always knew like you were fun to be around and cool, but like once I like got to know you, I'm like, dude, Adam's like cool as hell. He's like one of my boys, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's like a normal dude where people would never expect us to be hanging out like golfing together.
Right.
You know? Like,
yeah, totally. I think the sport has come a long way, our sport, in the last, 5 years or so, in terms of, I think people have given themselves permission to be themselves a little bit more. But there's certainly around the kind of the Dungey era, Carmichael, all these guys, Villapoto, kind of just Terminators, like robots almost. They were so consistent, and obviously racing is the focus, winning is the focus. And there wasn't so much personality with it. And I think a lot of young guys looking up to that. I think Tomac is another one. You could kind of say the same thing. You almost feel like you have to mold yourself, after those guys. You kind of got to be them in a way. You got to be more robotic like that. And
those are the dudes winning everything.
Exactly.
Those are the dudes like getting the rides.
And even when I started, I started to vlog, started doing YouTube stuff in like 2017 or something. I remember I caught a lot of flack for it. Because if you're not winning, they're like, oh, well, you have time to, you have time to do this or that. And I think we've come a long way in terms of, there's a lot of really good personalities in the sport now. And I think it's all about just being yourself. There's a lot of ways, just like golf, man, there's a lot of ways to put the ball in the hole. And it's the same thing with getting to the top of the sport. You can be yourself and still do it.
Yeah, I think it's weird too. Like when you are getting heat from the fans, like, oh, you're not winning, but you have time to do this and you have time to do that. Like you need to, like, I don't think they don't understand how hard it is and how many weekends you're riding. Like you guys don't get time off. So it's like when you get a little bit of like free time, it's like you want to do something that's fun. And it's like, you're the one out there busting your ass. You should be able to go do whatever the hell you want. If you want to vlog. If you want to go do that,
Yeah, for me, I think it's about, I've always felt this resistance. Like if I've tried to be that, like I've tried to be the robot kind of guy for, I don't know, maybe it hasn't come across that way, but there's been times in my life, say I'm injured, I haven't been performing well, right? There's times I'll stay off social. I'll feel like I don't deserve it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't be having a good time if I haven't been putting in good results or whatever. But I've always had this like resistance in me to that. Like when I'm not myself, whether it's making me better or not, which I don't believe it is, it just it's never sat right with me. Mm-hmm. So I always just try to be myself, and that's just, being open and doing my thing.
Yeah. Touching back on like the commentating thing, that was one of my questions too. Was like, do you think we'll start seeing you in the booth more?
I mean, that's the goal. I've had a lot of people since I announced my retirement. I've had a lot of love on social and stuff, and I've been fortunate enough to have some opportunities up there. And I've done a couple Supercross races. I've done an outdoor race, and I really enjoy that stuff. Like I'm a massive fan of the sport still, and I think that's unique in a way because a lot of times, kind of when an athlete parts from the sport, it's like the Stu thing, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of want nothing to do with it
I hate this,
first.
I'm outta here.
You just everything attached to it. It's not the sport itself, but just everything attached to it. You can get a little bit bitter, I think. But I've been able to, I don't know, just my perspective. I still love it, and so that's something that I'm working on, and I think you will see me in some roles hopefully this summer and going into SMX. And yeah, that being said, it's a lot of really good guys in there right now. You have RC, the best it's ever done. You got Stu, Weege, Lee Diffie. All those guys are great. Jason Thomas. So we'll see. That's the plan. That's the goal.
I love seeing Jason Thomas out there. I love Weege, but I think it's so much. I think it's rad when like dudes like yourself and Stu and Carmichael are doing it because you actually went and did that. Like your perspective is different than like a Weege. You know what I mean? So I feel like with your guys' input, it makes the races and the conversations in the booth so much more interesting where you actually want to listen to what you guys are saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I have a unique, just the way I process things and the way that I've kind of been brought up in the sport. We all have our unique experience. And I think I've been blessed with a ability to articulate the knowledge in a way that people can easily digest and understand. And so I hope to, it's been a goal of mine for a long time. I mean, it's not just something, I retired from racing and it's kind of the athlete thing to do. Like, I don't know if you guys see JJ Redick, retired from the NBA, get a podcast. These Draymond Green types, like that's kind of the normal thing to do, but this is actually something. This has actually been a dream of mine for a long time. I mean, since I was listening to Art Ekman and David Bailey, late 90s, early 2000s Supercross. So that's the goal, but it's one step at a time.
So rad. Touching back on the retirement, how was it?
It's weird, man.
How was it pulling up to Paula and not having to go to the semi and do all this stuff?
It was. Honestly, that was probably my favorite part of the day was the drive to the track. It's
no nerves, no nothing,
because that's always that. I didn't like that part, especially towards the end of my career. That kind of tension, and we all put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and it was nice to. And I felt that in commentary roles as well when I've had opportunities to go and do the guest thing is kind of putting a different hat on and not identifying as a racer really allows you to experience the race in a different way, from a fan's perspective. And it's a whole lot of fun, but I honestly, I think I was a little bit more tired from just walking around all day than I was actually racing.
Yeah. I bet.
But yeah, it's all new to me and I'm trying to just take it day by day and enjoy it. But yeah, it's nice, especially when the track gets rough, gets a little hot at the end of the day, and you're sitting there. I had a nice Coors Light in my hand. That felt real nice. Nice.
I love the JJ Redick, comparison there. One thing that I feel like a lot of people in sports love about a guy like JJ Redick, and you touch upon this, I actually want to hear your opinion, is that he does talk about the game from a different standpoint. Like you said, he played at a different level, and he also played multiple different variations. What is it, Twitch, like for you when you watch a race that you want to hear a commentator, you want to hear the announcer? What is it that you look for, like, that makes you excited to listen?
I just like hearing about certain things where it's like you see someone riding like crap, but in that industry, everyone is so, I don't know if they're scared or they just don't want anyone to know their weakness. It's like, oh yeah, so-and-so's riding with a broken pinky right now, or so-and-so had a bad crash this week, because you guys don't really talk about it because you don't want anyone knowing. Yeah. So I think it's cool.
So stupid that way.
I think it's cool when RC will like call people out like, hey man, yeah, you were riding like crap last week. And he's like, I didn't know you had a practice crash and you got knocked out on Monday and you raced on Saturday, you know? So it's like, I like hearing like the back end stories of like what went on throughout the week. And if you're riding through an injury and you're not, cause like a lot of people will be killing it. And then you see them not do good for a few weekends. You're like, oh, they must just be off. But like, you didn't know they were knocked out last week and maybe almost didn't make the race this weekend.
Right. And there's so much of that going on. I mean, in the sport, there's always, almost everyone out there is riding with something, dealing with something, whether it's we talk about, I mean, guys get on the podium and talk about they missed the bike setup, right? It's kind of cliche, but it's so, especially at the 450 level, it's so important to have kind of everything clicking. If you have to be next level, generational, for everything to not be perfect and for you to win. So there's all these backstories, like Twitch said, that can be really valuable into a broadcast. If I think, and we've seen it like with the F1 Drive to Survive thing, right? If you give people, you make people kind of, I guess, attached to the riders, like emotionally, and kind of show them who they are. And everybody has a story, and that's kind of something that I think I can, help bring to the table. Is the guy there's races within the race. Yeah. We kind of, as a sport, it's like if you're not winning or on the podium, it's kind of like, it's not that big of a deal. But for, this rookie kid that's coming off of 2 broken arms in a row that got 9th, and that's maybe the springboard they need to, build their confidence, keep their ride next year. I mean, there's so many different things going on out there. I will say, once you get in the booth and you got the camera on, you got the producer in your ear and all that stuff, it's a lot. Like, there's a lot of times I'd be sitting on my couch kind of growing up, and I'll be like, man, why didn't they say that? Why didn't they say that? It's easy to sit there and be like, come on, guys. Yeah. But it is, obviously it's possible, but it is more difficult than people realize. Yeah,
for sure.
For sure,
Because you have a thought in your head what you want to talk about, and then you have them in your ear telling you, hey, touch on this. And you're like,
Yeah, and it's like you're sending it down to, if there's somebody, JT, for example, sideline reporting, he'll kind of hit his little button on his microphone, talk to producer, say, hey, he can add on what James is saying about Jet, right? And then you got 15 seconds to wrap up your thought and then send it down to JT, and it's back to you. So it's a lot of different things going on out there. But I want to challenge myself going forward. That stuff isn't, I used to think growing up, in the sport, it's been a long, difficult road as anything would be. I used to think that I want to just, golf and kind of just cruise it in and coast on my success. But I think the older I've gotten, the more I realize that, doing hard things is, on the other side of that, you can find a lot of peace. And
it's way more rewarding.
And just more growth. I want to keep going and not use this as a kind of this retirement as an excuse to be stagnant. No,
I feel like when dudes do actually retire, like they quit training, they quit riding every day, they're not traveling. I feel like you're so programmed to be doing something every single day to be better at it, where it's like you still got to do something to keep yourself busy, because then you see a lot of dudes like, maybe I want to go back and race again, because it's like they miss that feeling. And I feel like you're at the point in your career where it's like you can let it go and you're happy with it. But at the end of the day, it's still kind of like a little bit of a bummer. You know what I mean? Because that's what you've done your whole life and what you worked for.
Totally. And it wasn't, I think we all have a plan of, how we want our career to go. And I don't know, does life ever really go perfectly according to plan? I'd never thought that I would have to go through as many injuries and things that I did. And it was such a roller coaster ride. And I'm grateful for it. Like I'm at peace with what I did. I accomplished a whole lot, but just injuries, and it's definitely a little bit sooner than I thought, hanging it up. But I am at peace with it. And I know that I left I know I left it all out there. Like there's nothing left for me to give. If I had gone out my last race and got a top 5 or something, I'd be like, well, I don't know. Maybe I should stick around, but I was giving everything I had and I wasn't competitive anymore. So it's easy for me from that standpoint to say, okay, you're giving it everything you have. I wasn't stoked on what I was able to do. Injuries were holding me back. So, okay, let's move on to a new challenge, something that you can, something where you're not being held back, something you can contribute and do everything you can in a different way.
You feel like a lot of the injuries made the retirement come a little quicker?
For sure.
Just you get to the point where you're just tired of getting hurt. Like it sucks.
I mean, there is that aspect of like, it's not fun waking up. I've been waking up in pain every day for 3 years. I mean, more than anybody, that can weigh on you big time.
Yeah, it sucks.
And it's easy to go, when you have a lot of time off, it's easy to go down a bad path and get way off track, right? But I was lucky to have a lot of good people around me. I was lucky to stay busy, stay training. I never really got too far down a bad path. But I think mentally, being hurt, dealing with that, rehabbing all these injuries, trying to come back, and the sport, the whole time you're on the couch, the sport is progressing. You got Chase coming in. It was Chase at first, kind of raising the game, and then Jet came in, and it just, everybody keeps getting faster.
Yeah.
And when you're not on the bike, you're not improving.
Yeah.
So, it was that, and then also just a nerve injury. I've separated this shoulder 15 times, and like the brachial plexus on the top of my shoulder, which is a bunch of nerve endings, basically are all stretched out and shot. So my right arm doesn't work the same.
Would you lose feeling in it?
It's not necessarily like, even sitting here right now, I don't have the same feeling in my left hand as I do my right, but it's more so like a strength thing.
Yeah.
And at first, like say 2020, when I started dealing with it, it was more so, it would get tired more towards the end of the races. It was almost like an arm pump.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was
thinking it was.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking it was.
Telling yourself. That's what it
I'm
was.
like, please God, like, not now. Cause I was still able to have some really good results in 2020, but come 2021, I just lost strength in it, period.
Yeah.
Like with whatever I did, I'd be driving my truck and I'd feel it, with my hand on a steering wheel. So, it's one of those things where it's okay. And I flew all over the world. I got all these different opinions, and at the end of the day, it just needs rest.
Yeah.
And
with your career, you don't get rest.
Yeah, you don't.
You go from Supercross to 1 weekend off, then Motocross.
Especially now with the playoffs too. I mean, we're racing until mid-October, and then it's 2 weeks off, and November you're full boot camp again. Which is
so gnarly.
Yeah, that's what I think these athletes don't get enough credit for that. Like how short of a break you really get. But like you said, it's one of those things where I'm completely at peace with it now, and we get to golf more, man, which is cool.
So I was about to say, we're going to see you on the course way more now.
Yeah, for you guys golf together?
Yeah.
Yeah? Who's better at golf?
Oh, he is right now. No, he's got me covered.
But I haven't been taking a break. Like he would get hurt, not be able to go golf. He has races on the weekend.
Yeah,
your
golf game's good?
It's getting better.
It's pretty good.
How's his golf game?
No,
give me the insight on his golf game.
It's getting decent.
Yeah, he hits it really straight now. Like he used to be typical golf move, be over the top when you start out, kind of slice across the ball, ball goes right.
I'm aiming this way and it's going to land there.
Exactly, a big old banana slice. But now he's got a nice repeatable, especially with the drivers. The swing's a little shorter now. You're slotted, making good contact, and
movement's nice.
I just gave him my golf. I sent him my golf coach's info the other day.
Yeah, golf coach.
Yes, he does.
So even for a hobby, you're trying to take it to the next level. Coach,
anything I do, I want to be really good at it. It's like, and like at golf, like I get so mad. Like I don't want to lose a ball. I want to have a hittable ball in the fairway. So it's like, I'm like, I'll go pay some money and get a golf coach to figure out what I'm doing wrong. Cause dude, you would know, go to the range for an hour, hit a bucket of balls, and it gets worse what you're trying to fix.
Yeah.
It's the total opposite of what you think you're doing.
Totally.
You play golf a lot though?
I play at least once a week and I hit the range once a week too.
Oh yeah, grinder. Yeah, so I just moved to a country club. So I've got a golf cart. I've got the full spread.
I don't even need a membership there. I just go play with him.
Yeah, exactly. It's
nice.
like a boat. It's better to have a friend that has a boat than have a boat yourself. Yeah. Same deal.
You get to bring a few tag-alongs every time.
Oh yeah,
but that's awesome.
I took 6 months off this last season. I had 15 different broken bones, but I still got this broken ankle. I just been playing on it though.
Yeah,
just playing on it.
Is it still pretty bad?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty swollen.
Dang.
My chick keeps telling me like, dude,
I remember
you gotta
you posted
you gotta get it looked at. But
it looked gnarly. The thing was huge. It looked like a softball on the side.
No,
of your
it's still like
leg.
that. I don't get it, but it's slowly going away.
You think we'll see you out in the hills this winter with this?
Shoot, absolutely.
I love it.
I would have ridden already if it wasn't for these little injuries that I have that I'm trying to heal up.
Yeah.
You know, I probably shouldn't be golfing either, but,
But
give another month. I'm going to go to Cali, pick up a bike. And,
Yep.
Yeah, I need to put some flip levers on there, man.
Yeah, I got you, dude.
You got me a cliffhanger?
Yep. Come hit the ramp of the yard.
You got a foam pit, right?
Matto does.
Okay. All right.
You have a foam pit at your house?
No, Matto. My buddy Robbie Madison does right around the corner.
That's amazing.
You think I could ever do a cliffhanger backflip?
It would take a couple years of flipping for sure.
you really want to risk that?
That one's gnarly. I feel like Bilko has them really good. Todd Potter used to do them really good. But Bilko, like, he'll leave the ramp, and before he's even upside down, he's already locked in, and his hands are straight off.
Ridiculous,
like,
man.
I
don't get
the
it.
dude has no fear.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
First time I ever, I remember I went to OGO headquarters in like outside of Salt Lake City.
Yep.
It's like 2004. I remember I had a red line BMX bicycle, and they had like in their warehouse, they had like a little mega ramp.
Yeah, to the little foam pit.
Yeah,
did it have
to the foam
then
pit.
when you
Yeah,
went?
it did. Yeah. And I remember I was trying to flip my bicycle. I was there with Malcolm McCassie.
Yep.
I was trying to flip my bicycle, and I would do the same damn thing every time. This is how unathletic I am. I would go and I'd get upside down, and then I would just freak out, let go of the bike, like push the bike away from me.
So it goes
as
even
I'm-
higher.
Yeah, and so I land, and then the bike just slams on top of me every time.
That's the thing about flipping.
That's what
though.
I'm
It's
working
like,
with.
That's the thing with flipping. It's like you've ridden your whole career, and you've always told yourself, do not loop out. Like, do not loop out off this. You know what I mean? It's like the worst case scenario where we're going into the ramp. We're like, all right, I'm going to wheelie off the ramp and flip right now.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like when I first started doing it, I'm like, and I remember when I first started flipping too, I would always keep my head back and look for the ground because I thought if I looked down like at anything else, it was going to stop my rotation, which it doesn't because you have so much force with like your throttle on your bike and all that stuff. So flipping's really easy. Like, seen Bierman get in the pit, flip the first day, Durham.
Really? I just don't think I can do it, man. I don't think I could do it.
It's a mental thing, honestly. Like sometimes
I don't even backflip on a trampoline.
Really?
No.
Yeah,
like I
you
can't
might
do the
struggle.
back.
I don't maybe see a cliffhanger flip in your near future.
I would stay away from that. I can't even drive a golf cart, so I can't imagine doing
He
this.
wrecks everything with wheels.
Yeah.
Do you really?
Four wheels, anything, I put it where I want it. I'm
The
a great
110?
driver.
Respect.
He
I'm a
rides the
great
110 all the time. Wait till you see him on that thing.
Great driver.
You still have that pit bike track?
Nah, I tore it down. I'm gonna build some more stuff this winter.
Yeah, I was thinking we need to go in on a pit bike, like a pit bike track in Temecula, Marietta.
Yeah.
We get a little bar set up and like a full on like dream tracks over under bridge.
I've already talked to Baker. I'm like, I have
Really?
a spot where I
No
want to
way.
build it. Yeah, so
Let's do it.
I had all the jumps there, but I'm like, I want a track that like all my buddies can come ride and have fun. Because at my house there was jumps that not everyone would come jump. Like they're big. And,
I saw them.
and they were BMX jumps, like peaky. So I'm like, I want something fun that like everyone can come do, but there's still some technical stuff at the same time.
Did you ever ride OWC in Orlando?
No, never.
No. It's a wakeboard park in Orlando that had one. I rent 3 years in a row. This is a funny story, actually. So, OWC in Orlando, it was like a wakeboard cable park, right?
Yep.
I don't know.
I remember it.
Yeah. And they had a pit bike track, and I think Jason Baker did it, but it was full over under bridge, like the full deal. I rented it out on my birthday like 3 years in a row. And I remember out there, this is how gnarly I was with training and all that. On my birthday, rented out, all my buddies here, they all leave, and my pops and I are out there on the pit bike track working sections, like
Still practicing.
oh yeah, like 7 years old, dude.
Yeah.
I always tell that story, but
It's so right. It's funny you bring up Malcolm McCasty too, because actually the other day a video popped up on my feed of you guys at like one of the races, and he was asking you. It was funny, like your helmet was big as hell, you had tiny ass little head, and he was asking you, "You gonna jump the jumps?" You're like, "I jumped everything." He's like, "Wait, what?" Like it was just like one of the funniest interviews, and it was cool to see Malcolm be so cool and connected with all you guys at such a young age. Like
the mini
Malcolm's been
Warriors
around
days.
forever. Yeah, like he always saw potential in like a bunch of different dudes, and all those dudes that were in all his movies and like hung around with him became something in the industry, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty cool to see.
Yeah. He's been around for a really long time. He was, he must have been like my first kind of agent type, you know, where he was hooking me up. And yeah, that's who I went to OGO with and trying to do those backflips. But yeah, he was always around. And you know, Malcolm, just high energy guy, like never down. I've never seen that guy down.
Never.
I don't know how he does it every day, but
happy as hell.
Shout
like,
out. Yeah.
cool.
Shout out to Malcolm.
Yeah, 100%.
It's cool. I remember seeing you as such a grom, just riding your Cobra, your 50 around all the time, and I was always like, "This kid's gonna be bad, dude." Like, and then I remember, then you rode pretty much Kawasaki your whole career, right?
Yeah. So they signed me in 2004. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Did do you think you ever got stuck in a rut just riding the same bike, seeing the same front fender every single year?
No,
no,
I don't. No, I think that's a lot of. I had a lot of kind of talk on social media, and just people would come up to me too. And when things aren't always going great, and it's not usual for a guy, I mean, to stay with a brand their entire career. I mean, I've been with Kawasaki 20 years. It just doesn't really happen, right?
Yeah.
And but to me, those guys are like family. They've always stuck by me when it's not going great. And everybody I work with there, they all have the same mindset, trying to get better, trying to improve. And the motorcycle's always been good. So no, it never really even crossed my mind. I mean, sometimes people would tell me like, maybe you just need to change or whatever. But I just feel like, and I think other riders get into this too. Like they think the grass is greener on the other side always. And then they go and they change, and then it's not what they, not what they thought. So it's just a new set of problems. So
I feel like sometimes it helps people, and then sometimes it might not. What I mean? Like,
exactly. So I just always felt like I had a home. I don't even think I took a meeting with anybody else my entire career.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, I mean, huge shout out to Mitch Payton, obviously the 250 squad, keeping me around, and career could have gone a lot of different ways there early. And everybody at Cowie's been great. I was stoked. I actually just got a couple little street bikes.
Oh, no way.
No, yeah, I used up my little allowance there for Kawasaki vehicles. I got a couple little Groms in my garage now.
Just cruise around.
Yeah,
that's rad.
I'm stoked.
See you doing some wheelies on them soon?
I don't know. People, like, it's so funny. I'm a former professional athlete, I guess, but I'm so unathletic. Like, if you were to watch me do a box jump or something, or just watch me run, dude, like, have you seen me run? It's not good.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good.
It's crazy.
I don't get it.
It's crazy you can be that unathletic and be so good on a motorcycle, which is like one of the hardest things in the world to do.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
But I guess if you put your mind to it, you can do it.
I mean, I'm the definition of slow twitch. Like, just not explosive. I try to find like, what am I good at? I'm not fast switch, like not a big vertical jump, explosive. I'm like, what's my thing then? I'm yet to find it.
I mean, you had a great career. If you could say one thing that made your career so great, what do you think it was?
I think, gosh, man, I could go a lot of different ways with this. I think just resilience. Like, I think my ability to sit in an uncomfortable situation or in an uncomfortable headspace or whatever, I think is really high. Like, that's something about me where I can sit with something for a long time and just kind of get on with it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of times, I mean, with everything, I mean, you've been there before where you have a bad crash and get hurt and you're like, I quit, like, fuck this shit. I'm out,
Yeah.
And I had those times, but I think I just always stuck with it. And in a way, it's like kind of the industry and the fans helped me out because, one, I've always had, a lot of support. Fans have been great to me, right? But I always felt like I had like an obligation to people because at the end of the day, no matter how hard it was going for me at the time, like I've always been aware of how lucky I am, and my problems compared to an everyday person's problems are probably, it's probably not the same thing. I'm sitting in a comfortable house. I've got friends, I ride a dirt bike for a living, and although there's a lot of stuff that comes with that's tough, I always felt like I had an obligation, especially when I went through something hard, to be like, to still have a smile on my face and still show up with enthusiasm and not, it's a lot of times you just keep getting knocked down again and again and again. You got people on you talking about like, why does this guy still have a ride? And you just all this talk and you feel like you're just at the lowest place in the world. And from that place, I always felt like it was really important for me to maintain my composure and show other people that are going through whatever they're going through, that I can, like, this isn't going to beat me. Like, it's not going to make me bitter. And I feel like sometimes that's what life is about. It's like, it's going to beat the shit out of you sometimes, but
how do you come back?
Well,
from
if you can just keep showing up, even if you got to fake it sometimes, like if you just got to keep showing up and you got to look for, it's all about things you notice in life, and sometimes you got to fight for that.
I feel like
that was kind of my deal.
I feel like moto teaches you a lot about that. Like there's so much work going into it and mentally being strong and not being too cocky and just like, I feel like moto kind of sets you up for life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm still a sophomore in high school, but
Totally.
I figured out most of my stuff from riding my dirt bike and traveling and flying around the world by myself at 15, 14 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like you grow up quick because you got to make a lot of decisions. And when you're on your bike, there's so many different decisions that you got to make like that.
For sure.
Yeah, but you're also, to attest to that, you're also really good at kind of prioritizing, decision making, organization, like kind of like how you would have to be if you were going into a jump to be like committing to the trick you thought you were going to do. You can't change midair. That's how you're going to hurt yourself.
I feel like that comes from me watching and learning from everybody around me. It's like you're a product of your environment, and it's like if you surround yourself with shitty people, you're gonna have a shitty outcome.
Absolutely,
yeah.
every time.
So it's like I always try to surround myself with successful people and just friends and people that are having fun all the time. Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's like where I've learned the most.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think when I started, I mean, people don't really know this about me because I had like this great amateur career, right? Everybody talks about how great it was.
Won everything.
Yeah, won everything. It was great. I had no confidence in myself at all as a kid.
Really?
Like, yeah, I struggled with self-confidence. You know, I still, who doesn't every now and again, you know, but until 2018, 2019, I mean, I had the most massive imposter syndrome, you know, in the world. And, through racing, because I did feel like I had that obligation, like you just have a growth mindset, you know, and going through the challenges and keep going, keep trying to find the positive, keep going, and eventually, you know, I kind of built that. I saw the value in myself, and it changed me. Like you said, you know, motocross, like anything, can be a vehicle to something much more meaningful, much greater than just going around a dirt bike track fast.
Yeah.
One thing I was just talking to the podcast team this week about here at Jaxxon. Obviously, we're building the brand. You see that beautiful chain holding up.
Oh yeah, that's tight. I need one of those.
Hey, shout out to Monster.
Yeah,
love that. He got his
dope.
brand new. Is that the 10 millimeter? Yeah, that's the 10 millimeter gold chain. One thing I was telling the Jaxxon podcast team was that moto riders, freestyle riders, everybody who's on a bike who has like a team behind them, right? You have Kawasaki behind you. You have guys in the pit. You have your mechanics, you have your guys, your agents. Like there's a lot of people that it takes for you as a single person to go win something, or to go do a trick, similar to like a UFC athlete, right? Who's like competing in a high level MMA around the world. They have a coach, they have a striking coach. Like there's a lot of people that go into one person. So you guys have a lot of this pressure that most athletes that are professionals don't have, that are not these singular sports. But then you guys are also putting your life on the line. Like we were all talking about, like what makes motocross so dangerous? Like why is it that people go out there and they're getting hurt constantly? Like it's very similar to like a UFC athlete where they're just constantly getting hurt because it's like a unique sport. It's not like basketball or baseball or football where, football, you get hurt, but you get hurt at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You got your 16 games out of the way, your 12 games, and you call it a day. What is it about motocross, supercross? What is it that makes it so dangerous?
I feel like just being consistent like that often. Like how many laps do you think you're putting in a day when you're testing?
100 sometimes.
And
I'd say mostly
100 a day.
Yeah.
I would say typically 40 to 75 would be pretty.
And every lap has to be almost perfect. Like you have so much air to make mistakes, and if your mind's not right and you're not in it, and you just you drop a wheel in the whoops, you know what I mean? Like you're getting bucked over the bars. Like
you have to bring it 100. You got to be completely locked in 100% of the time. I mean, we're riding, 4 or 5 days a week all year round, except 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you're not like looking for that edge, you look at a guy like Jed or Chase now, the guys that are, crushing it, they make it look pretty easy.
Yeah.
Right. Like it kind of is somebody that that's never watched dirt bikes and they watch them ride, they probably think they could do it.
I could do that. That's how smooth they are.
I say that when I watch
effortless.
them.
You barely, I mean, Jet especially. There's barely any. The RPMs are so low. It's like he's just coasting around everywhere, right? But he's still on the edge, like mentally, cognitively, of what he can do. And if you're not close to that edge, that's why you see guys make mistakes.
Yep.
And the guys that are able to be consistent and not get hurt are the guys that figure out how to make an 80% effort. What it needs to be to win races and to compete all the time. And those are what the greats, some of the great guys do. Dungey was great at that.
Yep.
RV was great at that.
You got to pick and choose your battle,
Yeah. And I don't know. I've got a weird relationship with what I think about, my opinion on like what luck is, if that's real or whatever. You got to be a bit lucky sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
There's so many variables. The first lap of a Supercross main event, if you're behind 4 guys, jumping a triple, and you're watching them, watching their back wheel, checking to see if they're going to jump it or not.
You're watching so many things.
The last second you're committed. The last second some guy, I don't know, misses a shift or something and rolls it.
You have to be aware of everybody else around you.
Yeah, and so there's so many different things that happen, and I think in dirt bikes in racing, maybe in freestyle it's a bit different, but in racing it's almost like you're less of a man if you get hurt a lot. Like that's how we view it. Where like in the NFL example, somebody breaks their leg, everybody goes out there and kneels down, and all the fans and all that are like prayers up, all this, right? Like we compound fracture a tib fib, and there's a yellow flag, and the 19 other dudes are tripling about 6 feet, about 2 feet from our dome, and it's like no big deal. It's like, why does that guy get hurt all the time?
Yeah.
It's a really gnarly sport, and these are the best of the best guys. I mean, I think in racing, we focus a lot on who wins and kind of the podium, and then the other guys kind of like, I don't know, kind of like do better. You know, really?
Yeah.
But those are the best guys. I mean, 1 through 22. I mean, those are the best guys in the world on Supercross.
You look at the 450 class right now, and it's so stacked.
It's
like the top 15 dudes can win or have won a championship in the past. You know what I mean? Like it's the caliber of riders right now is like insane.
Yeah, and it's only getting faster. And if you're not on that edge, I think that's what it is. Like if you're not close to that edge and you're not trying to be better, you're not really going to be doing anything. So
yeah. What do you think your most memorable pro race was?
Memorable pro race, man, it's a good one. Let me see. I've got a lot of good ones, man. Yeah. I think first one that comes to mind was Daytona 2017. I grew up in the Daytona Beach area, so big home race for me. And kind of the beginning of my pro career. I turned pro late 2013. Came out, did really well in my first Supercross season. Won a few races, but I got hurt. I blew my shoulder out. So
Same one that you're having trouble with now?
Yeah, so this is March of 2014. I got back on the bike like August of that year. First day back on the bike, compound fractured my tib fib.
Dang.
And then I was getting ready to race a Supercross, or I was racing Supercross in Geneva, Switzerland, December of 2014. Messed up, jumped onto the concrete, thought I was going to die. Like knocked myself out for like 2 minutes. Shattered my actual socket in my shoulder, like destroyed my shoulder again, right? And so I get back for 2015 outdoors that summer. I do 6 races. I do my other shoulder. And then I come back for 2016 Supercross 2 days before the first race. I break my wrist at Milestone. And then 2016 outdoors, I was able to make it through, but like way off the pace, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. I came out, I was I was hot shit. As a 17-year-old kid, winning everything right away. Like, oh, this is easy. Like, this is what I've always done.
Yeah.
Of course, this is how it was going to go. And then all this stuff happens. And the first time I'm living on my own, first time in my life, I'm like, well, what am I like? I don't know. The future's so uncertain. I got like 1 year left on my contract.
Am I going to get another ride?
Yeah. Am I going to go back to school? Like, am I going to college? And then, I got through 2016 outdoors, and in 2017, Daytona was my first win back from after all of that stuff. And I've never reacted so. I mean, I was
just full of emotions.
I blacked out. I mean, it was the most I've ever felt all at one time, because when you really scrape the bottom like that and you're able to get back, it was and just to have my family was there, and it was just like, okay, all right, like let's reset. I can do this again.
And it's cool. Like sometimes you need something like that to like show you can still do it. Like going through all those injuries back to back like that ain't easy. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, when that happens, they just go off the bad side. They start getting addicted to pain pills.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's
like
easy. How are you dealing with all these injuries? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's insane. I actually watched a video a couple weeks ago. It popped up. I forget who's putting out this. Someone's been putting out this little series of you like leading out to your retirement once it started talking about it. And it was your first Supercross win.
Oh yeah, yep.
And your mom and your dad were there. And I just seeing your guys, just the whole family and your guys' just emotions. I was like, I got emotional watching it. I was like, dude, I'm like, that's so rad.
I think that's something that I'm not going to say it's unique to dirt bikes, because I'm almost positive that it's not. But it's so much. It put a lot of. I'm really grateful for my family giving me the opportunity, and I also had a lot of help financially, like from my grandpa in the early years. And luckily, I was good enough early where I was getting motorcycles and kind of getting enough funds to get to these races. Because otherwise, I don't come from anything too crazy. I couldn't have done it to the extent I did it without a lot of help. And I'm really grateful for my family's time, but it puts a lot of strain on everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my parents, my sister, my dad being with me away from my sister, and kind of as a self-aware kid, it's like that stuff, you know, I'm sitting at a motorhome by Pro Circuit there when I'm like 12 years old out here training.
Living in the parking lot.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, my dad's been out here with me for 3 months. It's like my sister's back home. I'm like, I better figure this out. Like I better make it. Like I have to make it. You have the weight, you put the whole weight of the family and everything on you, you know, and I still feel a little bit guilty for that sometimes, but
it's a sacrifice from the family. 100%.
It's a whole, and it's, you know, as a kid, you don't really ask for it really, you know, this is what you want to do. And of course your parents are going to do everything they can to help you, but, I'm lucky that it worked out the way it did. And what you saw in that video, my first race, my family being all stoked, it really is. It's way more than just me. Yeah. You know, anybody you see out there winning, it's way more than just them. You know, it takes a lifetime of sacrifice.
It's so cool to see. And I think too, like as you get a little older and like once you have your own kids, it's like you would literally do anything for your kid. Yeah. Like if my kid wants to go do here, I'm like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like even though if I don't want to do it, my job is to better my kid's career or whatever they're going to do in life. So if they want to try this, let's try everything and figure out what you like. Then we'll go all in. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's hard because some families aren't able to do that. Like you said, you had help from grandpa and like your parents and stuff like that. So it's like, it is a sacrifice for everybody around you.
Yeah, it really is.
How important is it? Like even for you, it's pretty admirable. I've seen you leave the podcast and be like, yo, I got to go walk the golf course with my daughter. And like, you know, I got to go pick her up a bag. Like you're always talking about your family. Mm-hmm. Obviously you have to have like a good rock, a good foundation. Your wife obviously is setting the tone for how your family's going to operate. Because you don't look like the guy who came up being like, hey, I'm going to be like the perfect dad. You look like the guy who came up being like, yo, I'm going to tear this place apart.
And I did tear this place apart.
Yeah. And we can go on YouTube and watch some of that. So how important is it to have a foundation in the world of moto like that?
I think for me, I started making money at such a young age and I started partying and just like going back to you're a product of your environment. Like I was spending everything. I was having so much fun. And then, once I had my first daughter, it made me realize like, okay, it ain't just about me no more. Like I gotta do this. And being young, I was 19 years old when I had my first kid. Like I'm still hanging out with dudes I shouldn't be hanging out with and doing stuff I shouldn't be doing. But once I got with Suze, it's like, once I had like my rock, like my wife, it's like, she put it into perspective. Like, do you know how many people would kill to have your job that you're just taking advantage of? And I'm like, that's what made me really think about it and like take it serious. And that's like when I started winning everything. And to have a rock and a good foundation, like I think it helps so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah, just somebody to hold you accountable too. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to get around a bunch of people that are just going to tell you what you want to hear.
It's horrible, right?
It's horrible. Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I can't connect with anybody like that. Like with somebody just tell me what I want to hear.
Yeah,
you know, I'd rather like my friends.
Yeah. Like you smell that shit from a mile away.
Exactly. People. It's like the homies are going to be like, dude, you're fucking up.
Yeah,
you know?
Get your shit together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I got people around me, like I got the best team. All my guys been with me for 10, 15 years, helping me build brands and media. If they don't work, like if the people around me don't want to drive and kind of take it to the next level, like you're just not going to cut it. Like the team is not about, you know, sitting back and being complacent. You got to have a passion and then surrounding yourself with people that have the same passion. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
As we look at the world of Supercross in terms of like Mount Rushmore, we throw that around a lot, you know, in terms of like basketball and football and baseball and MMA. Like you have your opinion of who's on the Mount Rushmore of Supercross. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of Supercross?
My Mount Rushmore, obviously Ricky Carmichael, James Stewart, and this is my era too. You got to keep in mind, you know, I've gone back as a fan and watched the old races, watched the races from the 80s and those guys. Bailey. Yeah. And that just wasn't what I was brought up on. So my perception is going to be a bit skewed, but those Jeff Ward, Johnny O, Rick Johnson, those guys are
badasses.
Yeah. Gnarly. But I would say Ricky Carmichael, James Stewart, Jeremy McGrath, this is tough because then you're choosing between really
you guys that are really good that should be on there too.
You're choosing between Villapoto, Dungey, Tomac.
Yeah.
I just have to go RV just because, you know, I got family ties. I got family ties, but yeah, massive respect to all of them. I wish Mount Rushmore had a few more heads on it.
Yeah. Who did you hate racing the most? Like who did you hate coming up on?
Oh, dude. Barsha, man. Barsha. And it probably would have been Jason Anderson too, because he'll get you too.
Yeah.
I would say that to him if he was sitting right here, but he knows it. But I was his teammate, which was like the best thing ever. Because I'm not catching that heat anymore. But yeah, Barsha, man, that guy is something else. Like
you hear him coming too, and you know.
Disclaimer, right? Like none of this stuff's personal. Off the bike, I'm sure he's a great. I'm sure he's a great dude. Like it's not that deep, right? Mm-hmm. So let's just get that out of the way. But I've never seen anything like this guy. I really haven't. Like if you say like this year, right? He cleaned me out at San Diego in a heat race for like no reason. He's cleaned me out, I don't know, 10 times. I don't think I've ever taken him down one time. Right?
Yeah.
He's a type, he'll clean you out say you're at a week-long event. He'll clean you out 3 days in a row. And then you'll come the next day and you'll like rub up against him in a turn. And he'll be like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, what, are you serious? Like, I'm like, well, what do you mean? You just broke 2 of my fingers the day before.
Yeah.
So it's like, guys like Vince Freese, he'll clean you out, but when he gets cleaned out, you're not going to hear a single word from him.
He knows it's coming.
Same thing with Anderson from what I've seen. It's like, he'll clean you out, but he gets cleaned out. He's like, yep, no problem. Yep. Barsha, that's the only thing I don't get.
Yeah.
There seems to be like, Anaheim won my first 450 Supercross race 2020. I remember he was in first. I was second. He made a mistake, went off the track. He was on the concrete, and I passed him. And he went straight from off the concrete and like met me at the face of the next jump. I remember this race. And I remember I have this, and he didn't make contact with me, but he would have if he had the opportunity there. I remember we were in the press conference. I remember saying it was like good, clean racing. And I'm like, what?
For who?
What? No, I mean, great rider. Sure, he's a great dude. I don't know him personally, but yeah, from a riding aspect, I just don't get that guy.
Did you have a decent amount of friends that you raced with? Like,
so I would say Ken Roxon.
Yeah, you and Roxon were always hanging.
Yeah, Chase. We all kind of grew up. We had the same training program, same trainers for a while, so we spent a lot of time together. But I never really got too close to other racers, to be honest. There's a really, it's a very gladiator like mentality.
Yeah. You don't want to have no feelings towards someone when you come up on them. And like,
you see somebody like everybody loves Plessinger, right?
Yeah.
Like great dude. And that's a guy you see on the podium. That's who he is.
Yeah.
Like that's who he is all the time. That's why everybody loves him. And he can be broing people down, right before the gate drops and everything, everything's all cool. And I just, like, I see that and I'm like envious of that, but I've just never been able to kind of put myself in a space where I guess I want to do that. Like, that's just not, I always had to kind of keep it separate in my mind. It felt too intense for me.
Yeah, for sure. I totally get that.
Yeah. But what about you? How was the freestyle scene? Like,
I was cool with everyone. I hated a few people.
Really?
Like, and I don't know, like I've
never heard this.
I would always get pissed off at certain riders when they would beat me, but it wasn't their fault. Like, now that I look back, and my wife actually called me out on it one day, like I used to hate Kenny Bartram because I'm like, there's no way this motherfucker rides better than me. Why the hell is he beating me? Yeah. It ain't his fault he's getting good scores. It's the judges.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would go talk to the judges like, yo, like, what the fuck? Like, I did all my gnarly flips on the dirt jumps when all these dudes flip the ramp. I'm like, there's a reason they're not doing what I'm doing. They're like, oh, well, you did too many flips. I'm like, too many flips. I'm like,
this is 2003, man.
Yeah, I'm like,
too many flips.
On, dude. I'm like, every trick I could do right side up, I wanted to try upside down. And whenever I got to a contest, I would try and flip. I always wanted to flip the gnarliest jump before anyone else did it, just to be like, fuck you, I'm here.
That's
like
tight.
Just to like set the record straight. So like towards like the end of my career, me and Nate Adams, like I went to Nate one day. We were always riding together. It was like right when I remember I jumped on his bike. I was riding a Honda and I jumped on his Yamaha when he had a factory Yamaha at the time. I jumped on his bike and I'm like, dude, this thing's so good. And I went and bought a Yamaha the same day because I'm like, yeah, it was so much quicker and better feeling than my Honda. And then I told Nate one day, I'm like, dude, we should ride together every day. I'm like, because at the contest right now, me and you were always like first, second, and third. I'm like, so if we have a contest in the backyard, we're pushing each other every day. Like when we get to the contest, whoever wins is going to be who rode better that day.
Yeah.
So for a few years, me and Nate Adams would show up to an event. You always got to write your name down when you wanted to go out for practice. And me or Nate would get there early as hell and we'd put our name dead last. We're like, we want to ride last. Because you would get 2 practices and then qualifying was the next day. So we would always go scout the track and be like, all right, we're going to flip this, this, and this, but don't flip it till our last practice. Cause we could do it during practice where everyone else had to do it in their run.
Damn.
Right.
So we would always like strategize certain things like, hey, I'm going to flip this thing for sure if you want to flip it. And I'd be like, I don't really feel like flipping it. I'm going to watch you flip it. And if you do it good, then I'll do it. And then vice versa. I would be like, hey, I'm going to flip this. He's like, I'll watch you do it. And if you do it good, then I'll do it. You know? So it's like, we would work together, but at the same time, we were working against each other. Like,
right.
That's a crazy setup.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think the same way in racing, I remember when I was training with Eldon Baker, you know, he's like the guy in dirt bikes. You know, he trained RC, Stewart,
Dunge,
Filippoto. And my first year, 2014, I remember Ken Roxon came on board when kind of RV was Eldon's main guy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Ken was the up and coming young 450 kid. And he had me and another 250 rider. But I remember there was a lot of talk then about, like, oh, wow, can't believe he's letting Kenny join the program. At this, you know, early, kind of in the Carmichael, Reed, Stu days, everybody rode by themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and there was a lot of secrets. And now with social media, people training together, all that, it's a bit different. But I remember that was kind of the first time that really started happening. And the way I always looked at it was, just like you said, those guys, whether they ride, they're so good, whether they ride by themselves or not, they're still going to find the limit of what they can do.
Yep.
Right. And it's going to be whoever is better on race day, like whoever is better on Saturday. That's how I always saw it.
Yeah.
I never thought it was like too much of a disadvantage or like you're giving anything away too much.
Yeah. I feel like for me and Nate, like it helped us have a little bit more time winning events together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was definitely a cool era for us for sure. But with freestyle, everyone was always cool. Like we would help each other out. Like, hey, like this trick looks like shit. Try doing this. This is what worked for me. You know what I mean? Like we would always and
that's cool.
And the best part about my era of freestyle motocross was having militia. It was Deegan, it was Feist, it was Enzo, it was Scummy. Like everyone that was doing really good at the time. Like I'm better at like watching someone do something and learning versus someone telling me how to do something. Like if I see it, I can do it. I'm like, oh, he's doing this. That's what I'm doing wrong. You know, so we would always video each other and just help each other out. And it was cool having like a squad of like dudes like that to like bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, it's cool too because you guys are pushing. I mean, you guys took the sport from here to here in 5 years.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And it's crazy to see the
culture, the vibe.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see the stuff that kids are still doing and wanting to try and stuff like that. Like I sit back and I look and I'm like, I'm so glad I don't have to have that mindset anymore of like being the guy. Like when I get on my bike now, it's for fun and I ain't trying to impress anyone. I'm just doing what I want to do.
I resonate with that for sure. I see those guys now, man, like click fifth going into a whoop section. And I'm like, nah, I'm all right. I'm all right, man. I had my day, but not anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, even the culture and the vibe, like Supercross and what you guys do as athletes, and then you compare that to what you guys do flipping bikes like upside down 15 times in the air, and like just the things they do on a bike, I could never fathom.
Oh, I don't get it.
Yeah. Like I can look like, I don't know about you, but when I watch like Jet, I'm like, wow, this is easy. I could probably go do this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know about you, but that's how I actually feel. Like when I'm looking at him, I'm like, dude, I don't even think he's going fast.
Oh, it's the same way with Axel.
Yeah.
You know, I look at him ride. I look at yeah, it's the same way with Axel. I look at him ride and I'm like, that guy's got to be able to go faster than me around a dirt bike track. Like you can't have that amount of bike skill and not be able to do what I do. You know, it doesn't really compute for me. Like the things that he can do, it's like it seems like what I would do would be easy to him.
Think we can get you at the Axles to come ride with us at his spot?
I don't know, man. I'm gonna need like those bodysuit, you know, like a stuntman bodysuit.
I think this winter when it starts raining, you're gonna come out and go trail riding with us and start hitting some jumps. You're gonna have so much fun, dude.
Yeah. Oh, I'm down. You're gonna have to teach me how to work on a bike, man.
That's easy, dude.
Yeah.
That's right. You don't have a mechanic no more.
No mechanic. I'm leaving here. I'm going to Kawasaki to pick up my stocker. I'm gonna be tightening spokes and all that, man. I don't know how to do a whole lot.
YouTube, dude. You can learn everything on there.
You really can.
Get a TikTok. There's a tutorial for everything.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah,
but new territory for me. I'm excited.
I might have touched on this. I don't remember if I asked you, but my last question is, what are you going to miss the most about racing?
Well, I love. Man, there's a lot. I love to compete. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what kept me going for the longest time. I mean, I'll try to keep the backstory kind of short here and on topic, but that's something that for the longest time I was. You want to prove yourself. Like same way when you started your careers. Like that's something for me. That's what motivated me more than anything. It's like wanting to prove myself to people.
Yeah.
And I think as you get older and you kind of realize that you're fighting a fight that's never going to stop. Like if that's the mindset you have, like you're always going to feel like you're going to have to prove yourself. And once you kind of find more value in yourself, that kind of goes away and you got to find new motivation. And for me, it was always about kind of when I didn't feel I needed to prove myself anymore, the motivation came from like, I just want to compete with these guys. I want to do the best I can. I want to get out there and push myself. And I'll miss the feeling that gives me. Like no matter how the race went, laying down at night in your your hotel room, knowing you left it all out there, there's like that sense of satisfaction, that sense of pride that comes with, just doing something that's difficult. And I'll miss the process too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll miss the waking up going to bed at the same time, going to bed at 8:30, waking up at 5:30 and grinding it out in hopes of, getting there on Saturday and capitalizing. Like I really enjoy the everyday grind of it all. And the camaraderie that came with, some of my training partners and going to the track and just talking shop, being around. And I really do love the industry.
Yep.
Like, and that's why I plan to stay around. It's not just something that I'm going to stay around because it's easy or, something that, just makes sense. I really like being around these people. And I like being around, the squad. So I'll miss that.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You had anything?
No, I love hearing the behind the scenes of how you look at it. I think the one thing that I love as a big takeaway, and for people that are watching this, is the idea of staying locked in during a race, like that fear, like because Rampage always talks about him fighting. Like the minute you lose that fear is when you just, you're done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you lose that spark, that fast twitch, that ability to stay locked in. But to think about you having to go out there and do 50, 60 laps every single day and then have that on rinse and repeat for 3-4 years at a time, 10 years at a time, plus an amateur career, like I can't imagine what it takes to be at this high of a level of an athlete. Like, so you got to give yourself a little credit for being an athlete.
Yeah,
thank you.
That is like one of the most incredible things because, I've sat down with some of the greatest athletes of all time, from basketball to football to baseball. And the one thing I love about motocross and supercross is that it is like a machine that you are riding that is so different than any other sport, right? It's not like your body where you can go take a bunch of creatine and some SARMs and you get jacked up and you can go beat anybody you want, right? And beat some USADA test. Like this is a machine. Like I just, it's a weird thing to try to like put together for people who don't compete. Is like, you don't have the capability of controlling the outcome. Like that machine also has to operate like your body and your mind. So it's like,
you got to be one with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like if you don't respect that machine, it'll kick your ass every once in a while really good. And when you hit the ground on a bike, you still have a 250 pound bike chasing you down.
That thing's chasing you down. You better keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, it's
hurt?
like, you got to be ready.
Right?
It hurts bad. I feel like every time you hit the ground, it hurts.
Like the bike hitting you hurts.
I mean, if you fall over, if I had tip overs where a big common thing is just to lose traction in the front end, slide out. Sometimes when you come into a corner really fast and you just lose that, you're at Elsinore and they just watered it. You lose it really quick like that. You feel like I've seen stars.
Yeah, how many times
how many times have you seen stars like
crashing?
When
you hit your head, like I would say like 3 years ago, I hit my head on the asphalt. It hurt so bad. I had the gnarliest road rash down my whole back and my whole shoulder and everything. And I'm like, dude, my head hurts. Like I hate hitting my head.
Yeah.
That's
I'd rather break
one
a bone.
thing. One thing, like going back to what you were saying about dirt bike racers in general, is they're gnarly, man. All of them. I mean, even the kids. Like kids, you see kids out there riding with broken collarbones and stuff. It's just different, and I'm sure it's the same way in MMA. All these things, but the level of toughness that is kind of the norm is very high. And the further I kind of remove myself from the identity of being a racer, the more I realize how it's not normal.
Yeah, I mean, before we go, the one respect I got to say is that for every other sport, it's not romanticized, but like getting injured is like a post and people are showing respect and it's like a thing. In motocross, supercross, freestyle, like it's like you won't even know someone's hurt. Like that's the main common thing I keep seeing is like, dude, this dude's been hurt. No one knows. Like he doesn't want to tell anybody.
Or like our head, we're like, it's just a compound tip fib. He'll be back in 4 months. He's fine.
Yeah, no problem.
Like,
just put a rod in it. It'd be no big deal.
Yeah, like we look at it like, he already had surgery. He's fine. You know what I mean? Like that's how we're so immune to that. Yeah. Like it's like I'll see my buddy break his Axel just broke his femur. I'm like, oh, no big deal. I'm making fun of him. Like we're joking. You know what I mean? But it's like at the end of the day, it's a gnarly injury. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm good on all that. Watching your YouTube videos, you guys are like flying off bikes, getting hurt, and then you're back on the bike like the same day the doctor said that like you could be on a bike. I'm like, nah, just like,
normally before.
Yeah, normally we're cutting the cast off, man.
Yeah.
How many casts you cut off?
I've cut off at least 4 or 5.
Yeah, I've been there.
Easily.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Or going to the doctor like, hey, I need a new cast. Someone threw dirt at me. And it's like I was riding all week with a broken leg and I cut a boot so I could like go ride. You know what I mean?
real.
Like, just
I'm golfing for fun right now with a broken ankle. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense.
No.
What are you shooting with a broken ankle?
I shot 92 the other day. I was
You were shooting low there for a little bit when we first started golfing.
I was a low
together.
80s guy. I was a single digit handicap for a bit.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna get back into it. What's that?
What do you swing? What kind of clubs?
Right now I'm swinging Cobras.
Yeah.
Shout out to AJ.
Yeah, AJ, my guy.
I golfed with him yesterday. We had a putting contest and I won his 3-wood off of him.
You got to tell him to stop. You got to stop closing that putter face. Did I tell you? He's always pulling putts.
He was yesterday too.
You use Cobras too?
Yeah. I use Cobras. I have a Titleist driver. Like I'm all over the place.
You mix and match.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I have friends at both places.
Yeah.
Or no, Taylor
support my guy Ricky Fowler. You know, Marietta local.
Yeah.
I'm actually neighbors with his parents.
Oh no way.
Yeah. We play
Nice.
pickleball. We're gonna play pickleball sometime. So.
Once your ankle's better.
Yeah. Nah, we'll be fine. Tape it up.
we got to have a big golf day.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll go Pelican.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
This
thanks
was
for
awesome.
coming out, dude. We appreciate it,
bro. Congrats, and I'm excited to see you in the media side of your career. I think you're going to be phenomenal. You're so easy to listen and to talk, and I think that you're gonna just exceed expectations in that.
Thank you very much.
Tell everyone where they can find your podcast when you start doing it consistently.
We're on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube.
Plugged in with Adam
Cianciarulo. That's where we're at. So we're gonna knock out a few this summer. Hopefully get a little bit more consistent around SMX playoff times this fall. But yeah, be on the lookout.